Hey, how difficult are Coach Beard's teams to prepare for, and what makes them that way?
Uh, everybody has their own things that they do. The hardest thing to prepare for if somebody runs it well is motion, because there's not a pattern to it. They set a ton of fade screens. They do some things that are a little different that you don't see all the time because very few teams run it. It is the hardest thing probably to guard if you know what you're doing. You learned that from Coach Knight, obviously, I think that, and then defensively they're so sound. They switch a lot, and they're not nervous about putting a 6'1" guard on a 6'10" guy, and they keep the ball on one side of the floor better than most for sure. Last year when we played them here, we actually attacked them fairly well. Down there we had nothing, so they made some nice adjustments, and he's a good coach, and they're obviously on an uptick right now.
Do you have an update on Jalen and how he's coming along? Any news?
Yeah, the news is he hasn't practiced because he's got back spasms that has nothing to do with his foot. He actually had, I don't know if you guys remember, we're getting ready to play Tennessee. Going into that Friday, he was thinking that, hey, I was full speed yesterday and I'd be ready to go, and I'll show you, coach, that I'm ready. And in pre-practice, he hurts his back and hasn't been able to do anything since. So we still haven't made a decision, but he's not to the point where he can practice because of his back. So the longer every day it goes on, it just delays the opportunity for him to come back. So you're probably looking at, if he was perfectly healthy today, 10 days from now before we make a decision. So it's getting close to being at the point where it's probably not worth it, but we're still going to give it a little bit more time to see how he's doing. He's not healthy though.
Kind of reevaluate, I guess, maybe the 4-guard lineup that you kind of played with the last couple games since you kind of got forced into it.
Yeah, well, we played it probably 75% of the time or 70% of the time for the most part, but we went with it and stuck with it because we had absolutely no choice but to do that. We would play 5 guards instead of 3 because we had no options. But now that David's back, at least we'll have an option, and we could play those guys together some. And against Tech, you possibly could, because even though they're undersized, Clark is a guy that's a 0.4. He's the leading assist man, and he's kind of a 4-man, and Holyfield is obviously kind of a 4 that's kind of pressed into playing the 5. But I see this being a 4-guard lineup more so than most, just because they play 5 out on the perimeter all the time. So I think it won't be easy, but it'd probably be less difficult to have 4 guys chasing them around guards than to have 3.
Coach, as you're adjusting your starting lineup throughout the season and in and out, what do you tell a player who's not starting to look for in that first 4 or 5 minutes? Well,
we've only had, I think we started the same lineup all year long, haven't we, up until the suspension. So it's never been a big deal to me about who starts, and you can tell by the enthusiasm that our guys show walking out there during introductions a lot of the times, that it's not like it's a huge deal who starts, although everybody would like to. I think it's obviously more important who finishes, but in this particular situation, I don't think it really matters. I think I don't really tell them, hey, look how this is who you're going to be guarding, look what he's doing. I don't tell them that stuff as much, because we switch everything, because they need to know scout reports on everybody that's out there, and depending if you play 4 interchangeable parts defensively, he may go in for Christian or he may go in for Devon, and so you not necessarily locked in on guarding one guy. So biggest thing I do is tell them just to provide energy, and when they come in, probably if there's nerves or anything like that, just know that burn your energy defensively, rebounding, taking care of the ball until you get a couple of minutes under you. And when you get your legs under you, then you can be a little bit more. You can explore a little more. But I really don't mind guys off the bench playing conservative the first couple of minutes they're in there.
You mentioned the other night that you liked how Isaiah handled that role at Oklahoma State. What do you like about his option off the bench?
You know, I really don't know. He made shots,
Yeah.
but the thing about it is with Isaiah is there's some games where he gets a lot of looks and there's some games where he doesn't get many looks, just depending on team scout report and how they're going to guard him. And we did such a good job the other day against Oklahoma State against that zone to start. We got any 3-point look we wanted. But you know, Doak didn't get any touches because that was their strategy to make sure he didn't. But you know, he went 3 for 8, and from to me, even though 3 for what's that 37%? I mean that's a good percentage, but it's not quite what I think he can be. I think if he gets 8, he should make half every day. But I don't look at him as. Or Christian, you know, Christian will start again, obviously, because he's playing so well right now. But I don't really see either one of them as locked in as starters. I just kind of see we got 7 guys. We got 7 guys that could all start. You know, you throw David out there, and that's just kind of how I look at it.
Christian's averaging 14 a game over his past 3. What's the biggest difference you've seen from him over the past month or so?
You know, he's looking to shoot the ball more. He's being, you know, I say it all the time, he's being more aggressive, but the thing about it is sometimes his aggressiveness can kind of get him in trouble a little bit. He's made some poor decisions driving in there and really with nowhere to go, but at least he's going downhill. At least he's getting in there, and you can live with that. But the biggest thing is if a guy goes under a ball screen, he shoots it. You know, he's not shying away from that. I think he's got confidence to know he belongs. And he belongs to have an aggressive role on this team. And I think that's as much of it as anything.
And Bill, we've talked about you guys switching up defensively and downing ball screens this year. How much did you guys study Texas Tech in the offseason, and kind of how much of that impact?
Well, I study everybody we play, but I've watched more tape on Texas Tech. We attempted early on to do more stuff that they do, and it didn't work very good for us. You know, they switch every down. You know, they do different things, but the whole thing is you should base what you do on your own personnel. And if they had Doak, they wouldn't be doing it the exact same way that they're doing it now because they're playing without a 5-man. So obviously you can do things differently. But the biggest thing I thought they really load up. I think their baseline rotations are terrific. You know, we don't do that, but. You know, they'll trap from the baseline as opposed from the top. I mean, they just do some things that are a little different that if you work on it all the time, I'm sure it can be very effective. And it's obvious it is around. But the biggest thing I probably like is how they keep the ball on one side of the floor.
Bill's sample size is getting a little bit larger, and your numbers defensively continue to be solid. You're at 37%. Is it? Can you just talk about if this team ranks up there with some of your best defending teams in the past?
I think that I do think we're pretty good defensively, and I think we have 2 elite defenders, and we have a 3rd and a 4th that are close. I think Oach and Dot at times are elite too defensively. I don't think they're consistently elite. Defensively like Marcus and Doak have been. But, you know, I do think we're getting better as a team. I think we're talking better. But, you know, you can go back and watch some of our best teams here, and I wouldn't say by any stretch that this team defensively is what those teams are yet. You know, we've been out-rebounded the last 2 games. There's still a lot of things that we got to pick up on. And, you know, if you want to watch a team really guard. I mean, you know, you've had some opponents down 43-8 in our league on the road. You know, things like, I mean, that was a different group that sometimes maybe the stats didn't reflect it all the time because of you know, maybe the margin of the game or something like that, where you kind of take your foot off the gas. But if we were playing a 5-minute game where each possession was magnified, I think this team is gaining on it to become like that, but I would still I still don't believe they're where those couple other teams were in the same type setting, but we're close. We're a good defensive team, but I still think we can be better.
Have you seen your guys improve in just defending the 3-point line over the past few weeks? Or?
That's a hard one to say. Our league, knock on wood, has shot it bad from Tech did last night. They're 11-17 against a team that gives up like 23%. So that shows you how well Tech played last night and how well they shot it. But I think it's so misleading because you can play really good defense and they take a guarded shot and make it, or you can play crap defense and they take an uncontested shot and miss it. And the stats don't really show that, but the one thing I would say that we've done a better job is we run more people off the line, and so teams, if you go 8 for 24, that's not a bad defense. Not great, but it's not bad. But 8 threes in a game and shoot 24, that's the equivalent of going shooting 50% from 2. So we got to. We got to do a better job of running them off. And I thought, that I believe, at least I believe, since conference play started, there hasn't been near as many attempts as what there was prior to that.
How do you think David handled the suspension and where's his head at?
I think his attitude's unbelievable. He was great in practice yesterday, and he knows. I really wanted to keep starting David, but now not going to, just because we only have 2 bigs and why let him get 2 fouls early and then we don't have a backup for Doak. So, it's not a knock to him. It's just doing what I think is best for our team. Doesn't mean that they won't play some together, but they're not going to start out that way together. But his attitude is great, and he feels bad about the role in which he had the other night, even though. My personal opinion, it wasn't a violent role by any stretch, but he accepted the suspension, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't disagree with it. I don't think it was anything that was awful, his role, but I do think that it would send a wrong message if he wasn't suspended. So I agree with what the league did and support that. But his attitude is good. And in no way is this a reflection of his character or who he is, and he knows that. I mean, it's not like he's hung up on that. He may be hung up on I let the team down and I disappointed myself, and I need to control my emotions a little bit better. But there's everybody in our locker room knows the type of kid he is, and he does too. So he's fine.
Do you like him as a guy? Kind of in that role, that backup role, he's kind of been both throughout his career.
Throughout his career, we're talking about 1 year, and that 1 year we didn't have Doak, so he ended up starting. I think Doak played 9 games last year, and so I like him in whatever role, and I think the starting stuff is overrated, but I do think it'll give maybe Doak a little bit more freedom to play aggressively. And David may be more freedom to play aggressively too, because he knows that foul problems aren't going to be an issue for the most part.
Coach, how you feeling about the Chiefs' chances on Sunday? Does the team have any plans to get together and watch the game?
We don't yet, but we will. We'll do something. We haven't made any plans as a group yet, and my wife has been out of town the last couple of days, and so she's usually the ringleader on if we get together and do something as a group. But we'll do something together as a group. This is of all the weeks to have a Super Bowl, it's the worst for us because we play Saturday and play Monday. So even though we'll all watch the game, but so we'll be tied up, and players need rest and all that stuff. But I wish we had a Saturday, Wednesday. And we'd have a blowout somewhere. But yeah, I feel great about the Chiefs' chances. I think I don't know enough about it to have an opinion, but in my non-educated opinion, I just don't think 49ers have enough offense.
Coach, tempo of your team, was it about where you expected it to be, or any surprise with that?
I am actually a little bit surprised that we're not having more possessions in a game than what I had envisioned for our team. Once we've gotten in the league, if you've really followed us, we've played slower and been more efficient. So you know, the bottom line is to win. So you know, we've eliminated some poor shot selection. I mean, some poor shots for the most part, but we've also eliminated not shooting it as fast. But if you look at us up until league play, we weren't very good in transition, and we were better in the half court. So we've been a little bit more efficient. But I would like to see us try to play faster, because I do think scoring before defense sets up is something we got to get better at.
What do you think of the league race right now?
Well, it's, you know, right now it's, you know, Baylor's got, you know, they got a 1-game lead, but it's really more than that. They've already won here. So, you know, if they hold serve at home, that automatically makes them a 2-game lead on us, you know, if they hold serve at home. And so it's still tied. It's still early. What are we, 7 games in? So we still got 11 left, and there'll be some things happen. The league's too good for it not to be, but the way they're playing is impressive, very impressive. And, you know, you look at Tech and West Virginia, and I'm not excluding anybody else intentionally, but you look at Tech and West Virginia, you know, West Virginia's already gone to Kansas and to Tech. You know, Tech's already gone to West Virginia, played Baylor at home, and after tomorrow they would have played here. We haven't been to any of those places yet. So our schedule is going to get much more difficult, you know, the second half. And but you know, the best thing we can do is hold serve and play well at home, and then go roll the dice on the road. But certainly I think Baylor's without questions in the driver's seat.
Anything else, guys?